We are joined by Florida Gators' very own Jeff Cardozo. The man is, well, everywhere. You can see him on the pregame show, the postgame show, during the football games. He does play-by-play for baseball. Catch him on the tailgate with Pat Dooley. I'm sure I'm missing something else, Jeff. Jeff, what's going on?
Hey Dylan, yeah, there's like 30 jobs, so you got the big ones, the fun ones, most of them.
So, Jeff, let's start here. Florida, they understanding against Vanderbilt. They take care of business. It's 42-0. Dan Mullen didn't seem pleased a lot from what happened in the first half, especially considering what happened against Kentucky the week before. Was there any big takeaway from what you saw against Vanderbilt last week?
Yeah, I think he's finally at the point now after what happened in Lexington that the guys need to jump into a different gear, and I think he thought that they did that after the Alabama game and then playing pretty well against Tennessee. But then all of a sudden you go and make all those mistakes. And then the entire week of practice after Kentucky was to get ready for Vandy, come out, play well, do what you're supposed to do. And they were lethargic. I think he's trying to get to the point now where almost he needs to be angry and he needs to start yelling and screaming at the guys. And, listen, it's a great locker room. They all get along. They have a good time in there. They enjoy things. But I think it's at the point now where if the mistakes are still happening, he and the rest of the coaching staff need to do something to prevent those. And then, make sure it's like, hey, when you step over that white line, I need you to jump into a different gear. When you're outside of that white line, we can have fun, we can enjoy things, but it's a job. Like, it means something. And I think he's at that point of trying to make all the guys understand that.
The first four games for Florida, they were able to run the ball, do whatever they wanted to against a pretty good Alabama defense, or the defense that they didn't see against USF and FAU, I'll say that. And then Tennessee is playing really better now. The last 2 weeks, they've been able to run the ball for 180 yards apiece against Vandy and Kentucky. I understand Kentucky's defense was good and you're on the road. How much of that do you think has to do with Florida's injuries up front on the offensive line, or is it just because you think Dan Mullen's trying to do something different on offense?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think in the Kentucky game, three of the offensive linemen that week, Dylan, didn't even practice, and I don't think a lot of people knew that or understood that, but I think that was part of the reason why there were so many false start penalties. The Iguac, the center, has been banged up now for a couple of weeks. They've been shifting guys in and out at guard. I mean, Ethan White's been good, but even guys on the outside, the tackles, they've had to move around and do some different things. So it's just not that five cohesive unit like it was in those early games, obviously against lesser defenses. And then I think in the Vandy game, you saw an opportunity to try to see if Emory can do certain things. And I think they tried to do that with Anthony Richardson too, because Dan Mullen understands he needs to get the ball down the field. Yeah, they can run the ball, and I think they can do that when they need to, but Vandy was never going to challenge Florida. So it was one of those games where, hey, we need to try stuff, do stuff, see what we can do. He's still trying to figure out what Emory can and can't do. And I think part of the game plan was that, putting him in situations to say, hey, can I make this throw, or can I not call that against LSU this week? And so I think that's why you didn't see as much running against Vandy, when they probably could have done that a whole bunch and been fine.
Speaking of Anthony Richardson and Emory Jones, I'm glad you spoke about that for a little bit. It seems if you would ask Gator Nation, Gator fans, after the first two games who they should have rolled with Bama, it would have been Anthony Richardson, no questions asked, because Emory struggled a little bit. And then you find out later, Dan Mullen spoke on the coaches show that you do with Dan Mullen, that he put Emory Jones in specific situations for him to struggle and see how he reacted. And you saw last week Anthony Richardson struggle a little bit against a defense that for Vandy that's not very good. Do you think obviously Emory Jones is going to be the guy, but do you think Anthony Richardson is going to play a role, especially now in conference play, because we know he got hurt, didn't play against Bama and Tennessee? Do you think he's still going to play a significant role in these games coming up? Because, I mean, Jeff, you got LSU big game, and then you got a bye, and then you got the big one in Jacksonville.
Yeah, no, I think he's certainly going to play a role, and we'll probably start to see him a little bit more. It's interesting how Mullen's going to try to manage all those guys, because, listen, I think we've all seen that Emory has some things that he's working on, some deficiencies. I think he's still late at trying to find receivers and understand reads and do certain things. I mean, even some of the throws that he's throwing to, there's a guy running underneath wide open, and Emory's not seeing that. So there's really trying to work through all that. And then for Anthony, I think it's just the ability for him to have to make some of those throws too. I mean, we saw a couple of games ago in that Kentucky game, he short hopped a guy. And, I think a lot of those throws are like that, where he's trying to get better and be better at the intermediate stuff. We saw when he came in the game against Vandy, a lot of the swing passes trying to do different things to set up the deep ball, which Richardson throws really well. So I think it's still, again, everything that Mullen does is like a chess match. And I think he's doing things with Richardson to say, okay, here's what he's doing, make teams prepare for that. And then all of a sudden, when you need him, he's going to throw something different that nobody's seen yet. Because remember, Richardson hasn't played a lot, so I don't think there's a lot of film on him. I think there's certain things that he can do, but you're not going to throw those out there in a game like Vandy. So obviously, Georgia, they'll do that. LSU, if they need to, they'll do that. But, I think we're looking at an LSU team that's not necessarily that good, so you may not have to do that again. So I think it's all going to come down to what they're trying to do, hide some stuff, save some stuff for that Georgia game, and then obviously empty the kitchen sink when it's all said and done.
When Florida played Kentucky on the road 2 weeks ago, it was shocking that they had as many penalties as they did with 8 false starts. Do you think that gets cleaned up this Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. They put a really big emphasis on it. And obviously LSU is going to be way louder than Kentucky was, although I don't know if the fan base is giving up or what. I'm anxious to see what Saturday is going to be like for them. But yeah, I think there's some different things. And again, those guys, 3 of them didn't practice all week. So I think that was part of the reason why the false start penalties happen. And then you learn from your mistakes. So now you're going to have a better understanding what you do. Obviously they're going to fix it. John Hevesy is a guy that's been around the block for many, many years. So they'll make sure that they get on sync, and whether it's just paying attention to the ball a little bit more instead of the snap and the hand clap, they'll get it fixed.